course, this webinar this morning is our pre-trip webinar to Croatia, about Croatia, Slovenia, and the Adriatic Coast, happening in a month's time. We're going to get started. This webinar, of course, as with all of our webinars, is recorded, and the replay will be made available to everybody going on the trip, regardless if you were able to attend today in person or not. So, as I mentioned, once again, I want to introduce your host of the trip, Todd Kjargaard. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning. Hi, everybody.
Ready and anxious to go to Croatia?
Very. Been ready for a while for this one.
Yeah, exactly. We've been talking about this for quite some time. So what we're going to cover today on the agenda, first of all, is just a few things that you need to know in preparation for your trip. Obviously, you're not arriving in Croatia, actually arriving obviously in Ljubljana in Slovenia. And I'll touch on a few points of the itinerary, just things to be aware of. I'm not going to go through it in great detail. If you have a question about something, obviously type it, as I said, in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and then we'll address it at the end. So I'm going to let Todd, you do most of the talking for this, to the extent that that's even possible.
No. All right.
Well, to prepare to head out on this trip as far as documents are concerned.
Well, for the most part, your passport, that's going to be your main one. Right now, there's no COVID-19 restrictions anywhere. So I would have your proof of vaccination just in case for some reason they ask it somewhere. But for now, there is no requirements anywhere we're going. But have it if you have it. That'd be great, digital or printed. And I think that's the main two things that we need as far as documentation. We don't need visas for here. So your passport and we're good to go.
And you're good to go. Yep, that's about it. Yeah, that's it. As Todd said, if you have your vaccination certificate, most of us do. Good idea to carry it around these days. Thankfully, we're not being asked for it anymore. Packing is the big question. What do we need to bring?
Okay, so this is going to vary. The weather is going to vary. So we're going to have cool weather near the water. Maybe when we're on the boat, it'll be a little cooler. We are on the sea, so that always is a little bit, it's not exactly balmy hot summer day there. So I would have layers. So have options for that. It's more of it on the casual side, unless you're going to be going out to more of a fancier dinner or something. Maybe you want to bring one outfit, just a little bit nicer, maybe a collared shirt or something. There's cobblestones everywhere, so just keep that in mind. If you plan on wearing heels, it's probably not a great idea. And I would have shoes that have a better grip, because cobblestones get very slippery when wet. And if we have any rainy days or early mornings and things are dewy, you just want to be able to have a fairly good grip with that. So layers, good pair of walking shoes with some good grip, and no heels.
Yeah, and no heels is the bottom line. And the layers couldn't be emphasized more. I'm here with a group now in southern Italy, by the Amalfi Coast, where it should normally be 20 degrees at this time of the year, and we've had a bout of cold weather for the last 5 days. It's been more like 12 to 14. It's been a lot colder than in Toronto, ironically. So, but good thing people are prepared, and so that's really important. That you know, and again, you don't need to bring. We also don't encourage you to bring a lot of stuff, right? Like your luggage limit is typically going to be one piece at 23 kilograms, which should honestly be more than enough for a trip like this. So yeah, you don't need to overpack as well. You might want to throw in an umbrella just in case. You know, we don't expect a lot of rain. You never know.
And the cabins on board the ship, they're not huge, so any like oversized luggage and stuff like that might be a challenge for storage on there as well. Just make it easier for yourselves as well. We have a group of, I think we're 28, so if you know, we don't all want to be bringing 3 bags or anything like that, but yeah, just maybe. And we can always, once we're in the hotels, we have the option of doing laundry there as well. So that's that exactly. Keep that in mind.
And I'm sure the question is going to come up because Todd mentioned the group is 28. It is 28 because we've chartered the whole ship, but you are actually split into 2 groups and with 2 vans, so two vehicles, like 2 minibuses. So for well, the excursions off the boat are pretty much all walking tours anyway in the towns and villages. During Slovenia, in Croatia, you're going to be mostly divided into 2 groups with the separate guide. And Todd's bringing a partner along on this trip as well. So in fact, you're going to get two hosts for the price of one, in effect. So obviously Todd is your official host, but I think that's important to know, because I know people are always like, when the first time they hear that, they think, oh my God, it's supposed to be a small group. It is a small group. It's two small groups that are together in one on the vessel. So let's talk about a few of the other things that people need to remember.
Okay, so your plugs, there's the European version there, is it not?
Yep,
So
exactly. So it's the two
prong, that
crown
one right there. Yeah.
Everybody's got them. Most people have the universal adapters now anyway.
Okay.
And
I always bring extra too, so if you have any off issues or anything, I'm gonna have a few extra with me. So
yeah, exactly. And so it's you always need more. Along with the plugs, bring enough charging cables, right? It's the one thing I find often somebody invariably forgets to bring their iPhone cable, or, if you've got a separate camera that you use, it might need a charging cable. All those bits and cables and parts and all the rest of it. I have a checklist of stuff, because invariably there's so many gadgets and things that we have. Some people like to bring binoculars if you're looking for birds or something like that, all those different kind of things. Todd, you mentioned about, obviously you're on a boat for a week,
Yes.
and although the waters are pretty calm, again, you never know. It's not going to be like perfectly calm, like flying in an airplane in steady skies. So what about motion sickness?
So there's options for motion sickness. So there are patches which people swear by, the ones that just go behind the ears. I order mine off Amazon. I think it was $20 for 30 of them or something like that. Super cheap. They last for 3 days as well. I have issues with motion sickness, so for me it's going to be that the ginger gravel, the one that's non-drowsy, Dramamine if needed. I'm bringing a pharmacy over there, so if there's any issues, but they say the patches work very, very well, and if you look at the reviews online for them, they are the way to go. I think. I don't know about the bands and everything. I've tried those in the past. They haven't been a success for me. So yeah, definitely consider that. Also, just to go back to the charging thing, an external battery pack that you charge might not be a bad idea, because once that boat is away from shore, the batteries drain faster because it's looking for triangulation of cell towers. And the further we are out, the more that it's going to pull from your phones or anything that's connected to that. So just as a heads up, I would consider getting a battery pack too and just keeping it charged.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I can't live without my battery pack.
Yeah.
Talking about phones, most people bring their phones nowadays. And put that information in the pre-trip information document. You can pay Rogers or Bell a small fortune to use your phone number, your Canadian plan abroad, or you can pick up a prepaid SIM card, and they're pretty ubiquitous now. You can get them at the airport when you arrive. You can get them bled in the first town that you arrive. So you may want to do that. As Ethel asked about purchasing a SIM card on Amazon and using it in Europe. There's a whole bunch of prepaid options that you can do. You can order through Amazon. There's travel SIM. If you Google travel SIM card Europe, there's a million of them. Generally, they work fine. So to answer your question, Ethel, we've had people buy those before. You never know, but generally they work. Again, if you go with a big brand as well, something like Orange is one that you can buy online, which is a France Telecom one and good for all of Europe. That's a pretty big company. So I tend to be more inclined to go with the big brands because it's just a greater reliability. But again, they can be purchased on the fly as well.
There are eSIMs as well available. The eSIM
right.
that you can do on your phone. I used them in South America. I found it very convenient. The only thing that was a little cumbersome to get it set up, but they did work flawlessly. And when I did the calculation though, it almost came out to about the same amount as Rogers would charge per day. So in light of that, it might have been easier just to go with roaming like home, depending if you want to give them all your money or not. If you've got Rogers or Telus or Bell or however it is. But I would check into the eSIMs as well. There is many options out there that cover all of Europe and all of specific areas. So I would check
perfect.
Okay.
And on packing, I just saw a note here from Merle about terrain for hiking, scree and rock. There's no super adventurous hiking that's on this trip. You're pretty much going to be walking in towns and villages. and in the caves in Podjovnia, which is outside of Ljubljana, on the day that you go down to Ljubljana from Bled. But none of it is requiring hiking boots. I wouldn't honestly bring them. Just if you have comfortable shoes with good treads, you can use them everywhere. Honestly, that's really the only pair of shoes you need to bring. If you have one pair of those, then you can wear them to dinner and you can wear them out walking around. Sure, have an extra pair that, in case they get wet or something light. But that's the way to do it. And about Wi-Fi, yes, there is Wi-Fi available on the boat. It uses the mobile signal as well. So therefore, when you're out cruising around, you may find that the signal varies a bit. And my own experience with these boats, just like on cruise ships, is that it's not super fast because they're using one basically mobile phone connection, and then everybody's patching into it. So it's going to end up being slower. So it's there, it's usable for sure. However, if you are somebody that is active on the internet in whatever capacity, SIM card is the way to go. And Vicky, yes, you can get a SIM card, a prepaid SIM card at the airport when you arrive in Ljubljana, and Todd can help facilitate with that.
Also, just on that point, Gord, just quickly, we are going to be moored in the harbors for the most part in the nights and the evenings.
Hi.
So we are close to shore. So if you come back from dinner and want to be online or whatever, we are in a populated area, which will have all of the higher speeds and everything like that. So, okay. We're talking about Wise now.
Yes.
Okay, Wise. This is very wise card. Actually, they named it very appropriately. They had another name before, but this is the better one to go with. You can put any currencies on here that you want, so you transfer right from your bank account. There is the digital version on your phone and the actual card, which they can send you. I do believe we have time for you to get the hard card as well if needed, sent to you by Wise. You can put your currency in. Right now, everywhere we're going takes euros, so it's quite simple. We're not having to jump between currencies between the countries. Croatia just started taking the euro beginning of the year or something like that. Something like that. So it's euros everywhere we go. And this is a really handy little thing. You just go to the app and it's straightforward. I've been using it everywhere we've gone. And it is a simple way of doing it, and you save an incredible amount of money in fees. If you don't use up all your currency, you can change it over to another one. You can move it to US, you can move it to Canadian, and the fees like minimal. It's under 1% or something like that to transfer it back and forth. It costs nothing.
A lot cheaper than your credit cards. Our members that have got, I know people, have been somewhat hesitant about it, but our members that use it now, I have many on this trip, they swear by it. They say this is the best thing, sliced bread. So Wise is the way to go. Telegram,
yes. This is how we're all going to communicate in a group. So wherever we are, if there's questions, we're going to have a little group chat that we're going to be able to access. That's where I'll be putting up, okay, we're meeting at this time, the evenings that we have free. If we're going to do some small walk or something like that, I'll text you guys and let you all know so that you can join. It's just, that's the easiest place to put, I think, everybody all together.
Yeah, exactly. So Telegram is something we use on our live away programs. It's not necessarily mandatory for this trip because you're almost always together all the time, but it is handy to have. And Todd will send out a note every evening and every morning, just sort of confirming the following day's program or anything that changes along the way. So it's not necessary that you are on that you have a SIM card to make it work, because you can just use the Wi-Fi in the hotel or on the boat. But it is a pretty handy tool. We're now deploying it across all of our programs, and it works just the same as WhatsApp. So have a look at it. The information again is in your pre-trip info document. You can also Google instructions if you're a little bit unfamiliar with technology, or as I always say, and as I always do, ask somebody of the next generation down if you need any assistance to get it set up. That's what I do. And yeah, Vicky makes a comment here because I know she was using it with us in Koh Samui on the live away there, and she said it worked great. So and the link for Telegram should be in your pre-trip. Okay, so Paul, I note here your comment about pre-trip information documents. I'm just having Barb reach out to you about that, because they should have all gone out already. So we're just going to follow up on that and make sure that you get those ASAP. Cool. So you're going to head off to Croatia. The first thing I'm going to say just before you get there is, in particularly the last 24 hours before you leave, if you double check obviously your flight departures. I hate to say it, but if you've been traveling recently, you'll know there's been a lot of changes and cancellations and strikes in Europe, and unfortunately a lot of stuff going on with the airline. So check in the last 24 hours. Your airline is usually going to proactively notify you if there's a problem with your flight. If at any point that you find out that you're going to have a problem or a delay, a misconnection that is going to mean that you're not going to arrive on the flight that you were originally scheduled to arrive in Ljubljana on, please, the most important email address is that delays@wheelandanchor.ca. You must email that address. We've had members that have emailed other people, or Paula or Barb. It doesn't help much because they're not necessarily going to be in the right time zone or whenever the message comes in. The delays is like our emergency email, and several of us get notified so that we can make sure that Todd is aware, that our transfer company is aware. So that's the most important one to keep for when you fly over, and then have a relaxing flight. I mean, travel is stressful these days, air travel, and deep breathing is the way to combat it. And just we'll get there, even if it doesn't go exactly according to plan. I promise you will get here to Europe. And then once you arrive in Ljubljana, and I think some of you are arriving at the same time as you, Todd, right?
Yes, correct. So we will be, I think they're coming right from Toronto with me and transferring through. And then we arrive in Ljubljana. I think there's 5 or 6 people. We'll meet. I'm going to try and meet you guys beforehand. Find me in the departure lounge in Toronto as well. Just say hi. And I'll going to be following the exact same itinerary with you. So when we would change planes to go to Ljubljana, and then we pick up our luggage at the carousel and onto our transfer. And then that night we have our welcome dinner.
Exactly. So the rest of you will have your transfer information in your transfer confirmation that you should have you may have already received, or you may not have received. And if you didn't, you will still get it from us, I promise. That'll have the details of your transfer from Ljubljana Airport to Bled. It's only about a half an hour drive. So you'll be brought right up there. And there's also contact information for Todd, for our local partner there, in case there's any problem. But again, delays@wheelandanchor.ca is the emergency email address, if you will, for anything. And that'll be that. You'll clear customs, by the way, already, just in case you haven't traveled to Europe recently. If you're flying to Frankfurt, you'll clear immigration in Frankfurt before your connecting flight. And then so that when you arrive in Ljubljana, you basically just walk right out of the airport. Okie dokie. Good. So just to recap the itinerary, and again, I'm not going to go into great detail here. You're going to start out the first few nights in Bled, on beautiful Lake Bled. It's one of the most picturesque scenes in the Southern Alps. And you have a lovely hotel there near the lake. I highly encourage you, and Todd will take you for a walk around the lake, either on the day that you arrive. It's one of the best things you can do to combat jet lag, is go out and get some exercise. It's about an hour and a half walk all the way around the lake. It's so beautiful. And you're going to spend the first few days there. And then the next leg of the trip takes you overland to Plitvice, the famous Plitvice Natural Park with all the waterfalls. Talk about that in a second. And then you're going to make your way down to Split, where you're going to embark on the vessel for a week-long journey through the southern fjords and islands in the archipelago of Croatia, with Dubrovnik being one of the many highlights, of course, and then back to Split, overland then again up the coast to Zadar, and then Opatija on the Istrian Peninsula, an amazing part of the country. And so you'll spend the last few nights there in Istria, visiting Pula, Rovinj, Motovun, before heading back to Ljubljana for your return flight back. So we'll just touch on a couple of the things about the itinerary, just a few of the highlights. As I say, Lake Bled, as I mentioned here, you're staying right in the village. There's a whole number of restaurants around. Todd will have a couple of tips. There's a Michelin rated restaurant in town that I know our members went to last fall and really loved it. So Todd will have a few of those tips from our Amber, the host of our last trip, because we keep obviously the information on where the inn places are to eat. You're going to visit the castle, which you can see up here to the left of the lake, and as well as this beautiful church in the middle of the lake. You're going to also do a circle tour around Slovenia. So Slovenia, it was actually recently written up, I think even in the Globe, as like one of the best kept secrets in Europe. People really love it. Like, it's very underrated. I'm sure that's going to change soon as people find out about it. Lake Bohinj is even more beautiful than Lake Bled. So you're going to do a tour up around that part of Slovenia and see some amazing scenery up in there. You're also going to take a trip into neighboring Austria, the town of Klagenfurt, and Lake Wörther, which is the warmest lake in Austria. I don't think you'll have time for a swim, but you're going to take a cruise across the lake and have a little Austrian lunch over there. So it'll be a nice segue into a part of Austria that a lot of people don't get to. You're also going to visit, as I mentioned, Ljubljana itself. You're going to spend a full half day there, as well as a couple of hours at Postjovnia Caves, which is one of the most impressive cavern system in this part of Europe. So it's really amazing. After the first 4 nights, you head down by minibus to Plitvice, and Plitvice is known for scenery like you see here. So you're going to arrive in the early afternoon and have a few hours with your guide there, Bernarda, to take in all of the waterfalls and the little lakes and cascades and all the rest of it, walking along boardwalks, much like that you see here. And so because we're going to be split into 2 groups, we're going to try and make sure that, those who want to walk a little faster and those who want to walk a little slower, or this and that everybody's needs are sort of taken into consideration. So again, we've done this now a few times this trip. Each time it gets a little bit better. So after a night in Plitvice, we're going to end up in Split, which is a beautiful town on the coast, where you're going to embark on your ship for the next 7 nights. So you'll embark in the afternoon and have a chance to get out on the town and explore a little bit of this city. In particular, you've got right next to the harbor, the Diocletian's Palace, which is really, really cool. The part that's most interesting about it, I found, is actually the sewer. Anyway, it's a long story. You'll see what I mean. It's really neat. It's really neat. And so, Todd, you want to explain just generally what the what the daily routine is on board, just for them to get a sense of what they can expect each day, even though you're going to be obviously in a different port every night.
So essentially, since we overnight in the port, in the morning, first thing, we will have breakfast on board, and then generally we're going to we'll disembark, or sorry, not disembark, the boat will leave the port while we're at breakfast or just after. We'll do a little bit of sailing. We'll get to the next town. We have a lunch as well. So we start the day with the breakfast, then we have a little sail, then we have a little lunch, and then we get to our next town, where we come in for the evening, which we have free evenings, so we can dine wherever we want in these small little towns. And the boat will be moored there, so if you want to spend a little longer at dinner, no problem, and then you just make your way back to the boat, because it'll still be there. We won't leave without you. And yeah, it's all about relaxing. It's about enjoying the ambiance. We're just going to take in that sea air. We're going to slow it down, and we're going to enjoy it. It's more about that, and feast with our eyes and feast with our stomachs at the end of it too. So that's it. Like, it's just going to be relaxing. We're going to see so many amazing things, and that's what more could you want, right?
Exactly. Well, and each day is a little bit different. So you're going to visit, again, these small villages like Korčula. This is one of my favorites, the town with the herringbone style streets that were designed so that the airflow would keep the city cool during the warm summer months. And so you'll be docked very close to the town center. In fact, in Korčula, if you look at the picture here, you see this little looks like this medieval tower on the left-hand side. There's a bar up there, really cool. You have to climb a bit of a ladder, but there's some cool spots that between Todd and Bernarda, your tour and cruise manager, she's going to let you in on. And these places have some lovely wine bars and things and places to go. Dubrovnik is, as I say, obviously is one of the highlights of this trip. Todd and Bernardo will let you know the morning of, if not the evening before, the timing for the day, because there's a fair bit of traffic. As you can imagine, it's one of the most popular stops along the coast in terms of when you're going to dock and getting into town, because the docking area in Dubrovnik is about a mile and a half, about a couple of kilometers from the old town of Dubrovnik. There is a shuttle service that runs back and forth. So all that will get explained to you, but you're going to get brought in and you'll have a tour at some point. If it's not right when you arrive, it'll be at some point that afternoon that will show you the highlights of Dubrovnik. And we've also included for you the Dubrovnik card, which enables you to get up on those medieval city walls, which is arguably the highlight. I mean, for me, it's for me, it's analogous to standing on the Great Wall of China, just to see these, one of the most best preserved medieval wall systems in Europe on the ocean. It's mind blowing. So you'll have lots of time for all of that. Todd's also going to take you out at a lovely dinner at just outside the Iron Gate, which is one of my favorite restaurants, and always a highlight on our trip, something special we do for our members. So we've got lots of little fun things in store for you while we're in Dubrovnik, and we're going to try and maximize the amount of time that you're able to be docked and to enjoy the town. You're going to visit other more remote places like Millet. And depending on weather, obviously, if the days are warm, there'll be stops here and there where the captain can literally just anchor the ship and you can get out and do some swimming. The water's cool this time of the year, I will admit, but from what Amber told me in October and Alfie told me from last May, a good third of our members did take a plunge into the water, even if it was only for a few minutes, because how can you not swim in the Adriatic? The world. Hvar is another great town, the jet set port along the Croatian coast, a wonderful fortress overlooking the city that will give you a lift up to, and then for those that wish to walk back down with the views out over the marina. And at this time of the year, there's already a few yachts showing up, so it's quite a beautiful spot. So as I say, you'll spend a week in and out of these various towns and islands, and the program will be pretty much according to your itinerary. The captain reserves the right to make some modifications due to weather or due to traffic, but for the most part, it follows pretty much exactly what we have put in our program. We'll bring you back to Split. You'll have one more night there, and then you will check out of the ship and wish you were staying for another week, and then you'll head up the coast, passing through Zadar, a lovely town. Again, they're all lovely towns, and you'll have a chance to have lunch here in Zadar before making your way up to Istria. And Istria is, for North Americans, not a lot of people get over there. That's why I really wanted to include this in the trip, and it's been very popular last few days. You're going to stay in Opatia, which is the former seaside resort of the royalty of Europe, the Habsburgs and the King of Prussia, and all these different people used to come to Opatia and stay. So it's quite a grand town that you're going to be staying nearby to, and visiting again different parts of Istria, like Pula with its Roman Colosseum, and Motovun, where you'll spend part of a day with some beautiful views and eating great food, because Istria is the foodie capital of Croatia. And then your trip will come to a close. And so leading up to departure, Todd, anything that our guests should be aware of in terms of heading back out?
We're not all leaving at the same time, are we? I think we have
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I think because we have to drive a couple hours from Opatia back to Ljubljana, I think pretty much everybody is on one transfer, with maybe a couple of exceptions. Again, that information will be in your transfer confirmation letter. And but for the most part, everybody will be going together to Ljubljana.
Okay, and it's not a ridiculously early departure either, so it's nice. It's not like we have to rush out or anything in the morning. So a nice last morning together, and then off we go.
And then off you go. Flying back to Canada, or for those that are flying back to Canada, or regardless, at some point you'll be flying back to Canada. What about ArriveCan?
So I found that ArriveCan is working a lot better than the Nexus. If any of you have Nexus, ArriveCan has been the way to go. When we just came back, it literally you walk through. It's so much quicker, easier. So if you've already had it on your phone and got rid of it, bring it back. I mean, it is kind of, the app is a little glitchy. It says it's not connecting, but it actually is. But in the end, once you fill in the arrival information, we do that a couple of days before we show up in Canada, and it's so straightforward. It's a lot easier this way. I would suggest it. Just, it's fast and easy.
So I had deleted mine thinking you wouldn't need it after COVID anymore, but
Yeah.
wisely the government sort of converted that into, instead of having to fill in that old entry card that we used to have to fill in. So now it's ArriveCan, and that helps greatly with your getting back into Canada. Okay, I think it's time for Q&A.
There is a couple questions in there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I've addressed a couple on the fly, but let's, Paula, maybe you could summarize what we've got in there.
Well, I'll just mention, Gordon, that some people are asking about information that will be on the pre-trip document that hasn't, it looks like it hasn't been sent out yet, so it should be sent out probably today or tomorrow. And then that will have the delays, email address, some of these other questions, and what you've just gone through today will all be on there. And then, like you said, that some of those transfers will be sent out after.
Oh.
I see that some of these questions are pertaining to that stuff.
Okay, so my apologies. Normally, the pre-trip information document gets sent out, but I know that there were some very last-minute details of phone numbers and stuff that we were awaiting. So apologies if that has not gone out to you. It will come out very, very soon. Take a very detailed look through it. There's a lot of information in there, but mostly the contact details, the email address that I typed in for one of our members, not realizing that document hadn't gone out yet. So of course, if you have questions, you can always email us after you receive that in case anything is unclear. There's a couple other questions in there, I think, Barb.
Yeah, so is a SIM card purchased in Slovenia good for Croatia as well?
Yes, generally yes, because they're all part of the EU, and so you have EU-wide roaming. So if you buy a card in any country in the EU, you can use it in any other country in the EU. So the answer is yes.
Okay, and then what is the dress for entering churches? Is there any specific requirements?
Well,
They don't like tank tops, and so I would take something like a shawl or something just to have. Yeah, and for men, it's straightforward. Just, you know,
this time of the year, I don't imagine anybody's going to be wearing like mini skirts or a bikini top or something like that. So it shouldn't be a concern, but just dress decently, dress like you were going to church at home, I would say is the rule of thumb. There's no particularly onerous restrictions for any of the ones here in Croatia or Slovenia.
Okay, and then somebody's asking about expenses when they're on the boat. Do they use cash, or what's the best option of how to pay for things on the boat?
So the best thing to do is just charge everything to your room account on the boat. You can settle it with a credit card in the end. And that's a good question on this vessel. I don't believe you can. I don't think you want to pay in cash. I think the best thing is just to charge it to your cruise account, which you can then settle with a credit card at the end. Obviously, largely with the exception of some special dinners that we've included, they're not included because part of the adventure is to go out and try some of the local restaurants in the various stops that you go in. So you will need money for that. However, credit cards are ubiquitous. So you don't even need, you can use a credit card for all of that. You don't necessarily need cash. So listen, generally speaking, in Europe these days, cash is kind of going the way of the dodo bird, as it were. So you know, it's good to have a bit of cash with you, but honestly, like a couple €100 for the whole duration of the trip is probably more than sufficient, and you can always use it up at the end. Again, this is a good reason to have the Wise card, because then you only need to take out as much as you need in cash, and then you can just spend in euros using that and not have to worry about conversion because you've just done it once. So
okay, perfect. And can you see, generally speaking, what an average dinner at a mid-range restaurant would be, or drinks?
I would say you're looking a dinner cost is going to be sort of 20 to 30 euros. I'm talking about appetite, like a 2 to 3 course dinner, 20 to 30 euros in a mid-range restaurant in Slovenia or Croatia. I mean, there's obviously some places that are a bit more expensive, and you can also grab something a bit less expensive. So you know, it's got a good, you get good value for your money, I find. Wine is a little more expensive than in other places in Europe. So you're probably looking, you're averaging probably sort of 8-9 euros for a glass of wine. So kind of similar to what we pay back in Canada.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think a lot of the other questions came out throughout the webinar, so most have been answered. Oh, there's another one that's just come in here. Oh, yes, the hotel contact phone numbers and stuff like that, that will be on the pre-trip document that's going to be going out. So you will get that. Is an adapter necessary regarding voltage, adapter and converter?
But most appliances in this day and age work on dual voltage. So both North American 110 as well as European 220, 230. So most things, if you have an older hair dryer or some other appliance, I have heard of some members having some things that are a bit older and may not. Double check on the label to see if you need an actual voltage converter that changes the voltage. I haven't used one in 10 years, but apparently there are some devices out there, but mostly you shouldn't need it. Most devices take both voltages.
Okay. Do you know if there's I'm sure there's USB ports on the boat, right?
Built into the boat? That is a good question. I'm not sure. I would honestly, again, go to the dollar store, buy an adapter plug with the same thing with a USB port just to be safe.
Okay.
Yeah, not sure if that's that ubiquitous.
Okay, and then there's a question about tips and gratuities in terms of
Yeah,
what's expected for the host for any parts of the
Yeah,
trip.
so tips for our as with all of our programs, for any services that are a part of you know, the program that you're involved in day to day. So your guides, your drivers, your wait staff, in anything that that is part of the program is covered. Okay, so we always say, you know, if you really feel like some member of the crew or somebody did an exemplary service, I mean, we're not going to say don't, you know, give them an extra tip, but we do make sure that everybody is tipped adequately. The only ones that are not, where it's completely at your discretion, is where we're not there to actually hand over the gratuity, which is the transfer driver from the airport, for example. If you have a private transfer, you know, you could toss them a couple of euros if you wanted to, if the service was good. Or some people tip housekeepers. It's not so common in Europe. So that's really, again, fully at your discretion. But the crew is tipped, the cruise manager, like all those tips are taken care of, everything that's obligatory.
Okay, and Rhonda was asking, Todd, did you say you were going to contact people that are on the same flight as you?
No, what I was saying is you got to find me in the departures lounge at the airport. So
Take a good look at it.
Track me down, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, find me. Like I'll be at the gate probably a little bit around an hour before the flight.
And
Okay.
yeah. So we'll get you that information. Yeah, I don't know offhand what flight number.
Yeah,
Todd
I'll get that. I'll send that to you as well.
In any event, it's not mandatory. The whole point is it's just coincidence, because Todd wasn't able to fly earlier. Normally our hosts fly a day before, but it wasn't possible this time around. So in the event, you'll find Todd at the other end, waiting for you with a big smiling face.
Perfect.
Good. I think we covered pretty much everything. And as I say, the pre-trip information document, we'll get it out to you ASAP. And if there are any other questions that do come up, then please do let us know. I see one more. Bev asked a question about taking liquor on board the ship. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to stop you from taking it on board, but it's not appropriate to drink liquor bought in a store in public areas of the ship. That pretty much applies to any ship that you go on anywhere. So If you put it in a brown bag and look the other way, I'm not going to say anything, but it's not technically allowed. Obviously, to consume in your own cabin is not a problem, but yeah, the same policy applies as I say, pretty much any chartered or any commercial vessel. Yeah, so that's that. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be other questions that come up. And once you get that pre-trip information document, obviously, please email or call Paula or Barb, preferably email these days with the phones going the way they are, with any questions that you might have. And Todd's information will be in there as well, so you're welcome to email him. And otherwise, yeah, thank you for joining us for the pre-trip webinar today. I hope you have an amazing trip. I know you will, because this is one of our most popular trips. And yeah, I'm so excited for you all to be off to Croatia and Slovenia. Any final words from you, Todd?
No, I just look forward to meeting you all, and this is going to be an exceptional trip. So be prepared for something amazing, and I can't wait. It's so close. It's amazing.
Perfect. All right. Take care. Have yourselves a great day. And
thank you, everyone. All right.
Bye-bye.